welcome back to Poppy's house. I'm glad you are here. And this is one of the last ones we're going to do for 2021. I don't know if we'll have time for another one between now and the new year, but we're definitely going to try to at least get a couple more in under the wire. And I want to thank you for dropping in and making this so much fun. It's so much fun for me when you come along, when you comment, when you like. It makes the world a better place. And really, a lot of what we're doing is just stuff that I learned by trial and error. You may not know my whole story, and I probably won't give you the whole story, but back in 2009, the world kind of fell apart for me, to be honest with you. I was actually in the ministry, lost my ministry, wound up moving back home, no job. We were homeless, and I was raising two daughters by myself, 12 and 14 years old, and it was quite the event. It was a definite eye-opener, and we had to start over. We lost everything, and just very slowly, entry-level job, working my way back in. We had to make things work. And back then, I came back to an entry-level job where I was making $12 an hour, just doing everything I could to make it and survive. And from that was born a lot of what I do today in cooking, in that I learned how to take a little bit and make it a lot, because we had to make dinner last. You know, we cook it tonight, we wanted to eat it for the next few days. And that's kind of where the mindset of this one is today. This is something that I came back with, probably from many years ago. We always did some form of a ground beef casserole, but this one, we kind of nicknamed it Beef Bam Bam. Beef Bam Bam. It was fabulous because it had all of that funness of the chili mac, a little bit of sweet. You could sprinkle cheese on it. You could do whatever you wanted to. It was fabulous. The perfect one dish meal, and that's what we're going to put together tonight. Beef Bam Bam. So in just a moment, I'm going to come back and show you some of these amazing ingredients that go into it. It is super cheap, super easy, and you're going to love it. Your family will go crazy. It is so good. So thanks for coming. Stick with us. You're going to enjoy it and have a lot of fun today. We appreciate it. Okay, so we'll go through our ingredients. Of course, for the Beef Bam Bam, we have a pound of ground beef. We have 2 cans of stewed tomatoes, and I get the sliced stewed tomatoes. We have elbow macaroni. We've got usually between a half and a whole onion. I like onions, so I put the whole thing. We have a bell pepper. We have some mushrooms, and usually I would use the 4-ounce jar, but I didn't have those, so I had a 6-ounce jar. I don't really care because I like mushrooms, and that's good. If you don't like them, you can leave them out. With that, we do some seasonings. I have chili sauce. I have Tony Chacher's, which is a Cajun or Creole seasoning. We have salt, we have pepper, and a little bit of sugar. And in and from that, you can create a wonderful ground beef casserole, Beef Bam Bam, that will have your kids begging for more. And of course, you can do to this whatever you'd like. I've cooked this before and put it into a casserole dish, sprinkled the top with cheese, and just baked it a little bit to toast it up. And it makes a great casserole, or you can just serve it right out of the pan. We'll probably make some cornbread to make with this tonight, and maybe a salad. And from that, we'll have a great dinner together. So don't go away. We'll come right back as we're preparing the food. All right, beautiful people, we have ground beef browning in the pan just behind me, and I won't burden you to make you watch me stirring ground beef. If you are any kind of a cook at all, you've probably cooked some ground beef before and you know what you do. It starts out pink, it ends up brown, and that's exactly where you want to go with it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up this bell pepper, and we're going to do a rough chop because, you know, if you know me, you know I kind of like just big chunks of veggies. I don't care, and my family is very much accustomed to it. So try to demembrane and de-seed as much as I can. Not a big deal. Clear that out. We got a big chunk of seeds in there. All right, so we will demembrane, de-seed, get those out of the way a little bit here. I am one of those guys that uses as much of that bell pepper as I can, and we're just going to put that in the spot where it can't get into what I'm cutting. But basically, I'm just doing a rough cut on this, just very simply. I'm not going crazy with it. We're going to, do a nice thick dice. And when this beef is cooking, we will add our bell pepper and our onion and allow that to cook down just a few minutes so that they soften up. And I haven't cut the onion yet, but In a moment, I'll come back and we'll cut onion together. Well, the onion is about the same thing. We're just going to do a rough cut on this onion to dice it up. Make sure it's in some nice bite-sized pieces without cutting our hand off. That would be a good thing. And if there's any substantial pieces of core in that, I'll cut those out because I really don't want to try to cook and eat that. But what we'll do is we will stack this up, give it a nice rough cut, give it a twisteroo if I can. Just dice up that onion real good. Watch your fingers. Everybody tells me you cut wrong. I am not a chef, yo. I'm a cook. So that is just one of those things that you're dealing with me. That's just what you're going to put up with. I was not professionally trained. I probably should get professionally trained if I plan on teaching people to do anything. More than anything, I'm passing on the recipe. You can use your own technique or whatever you think is best. Then this last piece with the core, I'll cut around the core and just kind of cut that up a little. Get that core piece out of there and throw it out. But basically that's what we have. We have a diced onion and a diced bell pepper, and I'm going to be adding those to the drink with the cooked ground beef, and we'll be back momentarily to show you that. Now y'all, people call me crazy, and that is okay, but when I'm cooking ground beef, and this is mostly done, mostly all nice and brown, I use the cheap cut of ground beef because I like the flavor, and then when it's time to absorb that oil in the ground beef, I just get myself a bunch of paper towels and we'll just work it in there and absorb a bunch of that grease. Now I want some of the oil to stay because I'm going to be cooking the onions and peppers. So I need a little bit of that oil. I just don't need quite so much of it. So I'll take that. We'll throw it out. Not bad. Now we've done that, and I'm going to go ahead and add our bell pepper and our onions. They are sexy, folks. There is nothing better in my world than onion and bell pepper. Maybe garlic. All right. So basically that's what we're doing next. Get back in there. All right. We will fry up these onions and bell peppers a little bit. Give it a little bit of time. And then pretty soon we'll come back and we'll add our other ingredients. All right, so one thing I failed to mention, garlic. I should have always mentioned the garlic. Throwing about 3 cloves of minced garlic into the mix. And I'm not gonna let it cook long enough for that garlic to get too done. And even the peppers and the onions are not cooked done, but it's not gonna matter because this is gonna simmer a good long while. So next, 1 can of stewed tomatoes. I use the sliced stewed tomatoes. 2 cans of stewed tomatoes. Woohoo! Work those in. They look really nice. Look at that. How do you like it? My jar of mushrooms, and I'm using a 6-ounce jar. Normally I would use a 4-ounce jar, but this is all they had up at Wally World, and that's where I was shopping. Next thing's next. I've got just a simple jar of chili sauce, and I'm going to add the equivalent of about a 1/4 cup. Not too much. Why aren't you measuring? Because measuring makes me itch sometimes. Now my youngest daughter, she is a marvelous cook, but she's not going to make anything without measuring it, and that's fine. You can do that if you'd like to, but you know, I'm not one of those people. So all right, so chili powder. Oh, that's too much. I'm going to go with about a teaspoon of chili powder. We don't want too much there. Perfecto. El perfecto. We are going to go with a generous sprinkling of Tony Chacher's Cajun or Creole seasoning, excuse me. I always call it Cajun seasoning. It's Creole seasoning, my bad. All right, and that's very nice. I'm going to go with about a teaspoon of salt. I don't want to go too overboard with that because the Tony's has salt. Maybe about, well, if I could get this open, I don't think this is a brand new pepper. It must be. Probably about a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, maybe a little more. All right. And then I'm turning the burner down quite a bit. And I'm going to get my tomato can. And I'm going to do about a 1/2 tomato can of water. What do you think, huh? This is the basis of our sauce. We're gonna go with a cup of macaroni noodles, maybe a cup and a half, I don't know, a little bit less than a half. And I'm gonna work those in, stir them in beautifully. And I did not add just a touch of sugar. Not too much. Less than a tablespoon for sure. All right, so beef, bam, bam. So we are turning this down to a low temp. I'm going to take the lid for my beautiful red pot and put it on top, which, by the way, kids, we're almost at 250 subscribers. I can't believe it. That's amazing. When I get to 250 subscribers, I've already mentioned it, I'm going to give away one of these red pots to one of my subscribers. And so stay tuned in the next few weeks. We'll probably get there before the new year, and I'm really excited about that. When we get to 250, I'm going to have a random generator select one of my subscribers, and we're going to send out one of these pots. So it's available in green, it's available in blue, it's available in white, and it's available in red. And I'm going to send one to somebody once we reach that magic number of 250. So I'm really excited, looking forward to it. We're going to let this simmer for about 15 minutes, just like this, on a very low temperature with the lid covered. Then we'll come back, we'll take the lid off, we'll give it a good stir, and we'll let it continue to cook until all the moisture is kind of absorbed into that pasta, and then we'll be ready. Beef bam bam. It's gonna be amazing. So make sure you stay tuned and come back soon. Okay, so Poppy just set the oven for 435 degrees. I'm gonna make up some beautiful cornbread to go with this. I will put together a salad, and we're still going to let this cook. I don't know if you can kind of see it, but you definitely, as you're looking at it, that pasta is beginning to swell up and get nice and full. It's a beautiful thing. So I take the lid off after 15 minutes of simmering and just allow that pasta to continue to absorb the liquid, because what we want is just a perfect one dish meal, and this is exactly what it's going to be. Now, the way I cook it with the Tony's, you know, the Creole seasoning, that definitely gives it a bite. So, you know, you can do all of that to taste. Your salt, your pepper, all of that can be done to taste. Whatever you prefer, you can go ahead and do that. But just plan for probably about a half hour of this being on the stove total after you add the pasta to cook in that the water, the liquid from that. If you wind up, you know, tasting the pasta and it's still a little not done, you can add a little more water and let it cook a little longer. But ultimately that pasta will come together. And then I always have shredded cheese on hand for people that like it. I'm not a big cheese person, but we'll make it happen for those that want it. But anyway, I'm going to get on my cornbread, and then we'll come back together and we will do a taste when everything is all done. So I'm looking forward to seeing you then. Well, supper is basically done, y'all. The cornbread is out of the oven. And basically, what kind of a Southern person would I be if I was not slathering the top of this cornbread with beautiful melted butter, making it all sexy all the way down into the pan? This is probably about a half a stick of butter. I will do a video at some point where I make cornbread, because there's an art to making cornbread the right way. And you definitely want to make sure you are doing it the right way. Now, y'all, this may seem wicked and evil. There's some people that really get onto you when you try to make cornbread sweet, but I like sometimes to do honey butter on my cornbread. Y'all don't hate, appreciate. I do put a pinch of sugar in there, not enough to make it a cake, but you know, definitely to add a little bit of contrast to the heavy savory flavor. And so we got this yummy buttery cornbread. We have this beautiful beef bam bam, which is completely done. You're like, oh, it just looks like goulash. It is not goulash. I can promise you that. I made goulash. This is not goulash. This has more of a chili undertone to it, and so it is just really nice for a cool evening. This cornbread and salad, we're going to serve it up in just a few minutes, and it's gonna be great. So we'll be right back. Beef bam bam. It is what's for dinner. And I'm telling you, when the night is just a little cool, I love this. This is so amazing. You got the mushrooms and the onions and the bell pepper and the tomato and the garlic and the beautiful elbow pasta, chili sauce, chili powder, all these wonderful ingredients that serve up. It's sweet, it's savory, it's got a bite. Oh, it's nice. Okay, so if you've never had it, you need to make you some. It's kind of my own creation, so I doubt you have. But at any rate, give it a try. I gotta have a bite of this cornbread, y'all. Holy macanoli, that's good. Perfect. Okay, so if you liked the video, I hope that you're going to subscribe, that you're going to like, that you're going to comment. Leave me something in the comments. Tell me about any little ground beefy dish that you do. You know, basically in tough times, people use ground beef and make casseroles and things like that that work for their budget. So I hope that you'll let me know some of the things that you're doing. Maybe I'll try to make it on my channel. I'd love to try some new stuff. So let me know. But beef bam bam is my take on the whole thing. And you know, I wound up giving things kind of funny names to get my kids to eat it. It's kind of strange, I know, but like I couldn't get my daughters to eat stuffed peppers. But my oldest daughter, she was the weird one. And basically, if I called it something different, she would eat it. So instead of stuffed peppers, it became Frankenstein brains, because it was like the meat coming out of the top of the pepper. And then whenever we were eating salmon patties, I had to call them Krabby Patties because SpongeBob liked Krabby Patties, and that would get her to eat them. So we could give them different names. I used to make a loose meat sandwich, and I still do. It's really good. One of her favorite things, but I changed the name to moose meat, and it made her want to try it. So give it a weird name. Sometimes they go with it. And so that beef bam bam is basically just like a stovetop one-pan beef casserole, but give it that name, and the kids jumped on it and they loved it through the years, and we still make it today. So I hope you'll try it. I hope that you'll enjoy it. And please let me know in the comments if you do anything similar, or if maybe you've got a recipe you'd like me to try. I'd love to do it. So thanks again for stopping by. We're so glad that you're here. And again, do something to make yourself smile this last few days of 2021. Do something for you. Take care of you and take care of those that you love. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.